Greetings, comrades, and welcome to Eastern Border. And for once, we have Victor, if you remember Victor, hero of the Eastern Border, and my personal savior. He's back in Germany from his mildly interesting adventures in Ukraine that we just want to talk about, and everything else that we actually didn't manage to record properly together, and everything about what we saw in Ukraine. And we're also going to be talking about current events a bit, because some interesting things have happened today. For one, it was Prigozhin's funeral. Secondly, our best buddy Igor Girkin, he had his second court today. He kind of claimed the appellation thing so that he would be moved out of his SIZO, that temporary holding cell. Yes, that's the thing. I forget how to English with you because we're not used to English. We're used to communicating through the power of love and speeding massively.
Yeah, so, I've been in Ukraine, I think, almost 2 weeks longer than you, or like 10 days longer than you.
I think so, because I arrived back in it was like 10 days longer than me. I had to be home and everything.
I was gone for this whole trip for 5 weeks. It's also good that we just talk now, because it literally took like days until my brain started to process everything after like sleeping every night in a different bed or in a different place and being in three different countries.
Let's
or sleep in at all.
In general. Yeah, because due to some interesting things that happened on the way all the time, sleeping was sometimes not the thing that we did.
No, why would you sleep? You can also just drive 600 kilometers. It's also fine.
I'm looking at this thing, and that's the first thing I'm going to do in September. I already have announced it to everyone, because it's finally the high time when I learn how to drive, because if we're going to do, and we will do projects in the future together, I simply must learn how to drive, for the simple fact that maybe then we can change and sleep sometimes, which would be nice. As people have heard my story of everything. Well, what's yours? What did you do after I left?
All right. So, the reason I wanted to stay was to do what I actually thought I would be doing first thing I come to Ukraine, which is I know these guys from Renegade Relief Runners, and I really wanted to see what they're doing and go on a mission with them. So that didn't happen when we arrived. We just briefly met them and went to their headquarters in Bucha, which is from where they're doing most of the operations. But they also have apartments in Kharkiv and also other places for logistical support and all of that. It's quite a complex operation, and I wanted to go out with them. Then I started to chill for a few days at Anthony's place.
At that point, we thought we would get our actual accreditation. Yes. Didn't matter in the end anyways.
No, I didn't use it one single time. And I was chilling at Anthony's place, doing some stuff, filming lots of things. I went into an actual war zone, which is happening on the Dnipro embankment, which is a massive battle of millions and millions of ants, which I filmed. That was pretty cool. So I did actually go to the front line.
Technically, we did. We've
been in between the positions.
Technically, that river was the front line where we accidentally stumbled upon things
whilst actively being in a minefield that none of us was aware of. Technically in a minefield.
It was just I've spoken about a lot of this stuff. It was a crazy time with you. I really hope it was safer for you afterwards.
No. So what happened is that, I stayed for a few days and I did some work. I filmed some stuff in Kiev. I met some people, some really interesting people who I will go back to in Ukraine at some point. I met a guy who is a very lovely person. We almost met him in Dnipro. He contacted me during the crowdfunding and all of that for the project. And it turns out he's a pathologist, and he is working in a hospital in Dnipro, which is where he's responsible for doing the pathological work on the tissue samples from the military hospital, meaning he takes care of all the amputations and the body parts of all of that. So that's quite a gruesome job, and that's quite an interesting job to remind people of the whole scope of the whole war thing and the secondary victims and all the people who are traumatized, the workers and helpers and all of that, because he was also, it's troubling work to him too. So I met this guy, which was really very important. But then I also booked my tickets back, and I wanted to go back to Germany. I already told my girlfriend, I told my parents. I was like, okay, guys, I'm going back. It's all fine, waiting for the Renegade Relief Runners. And then last minute, they tell me, oh, we're going out today. And you have 1 hour basically to decide if you cancel your tickets and come with us to Kharkiv. And naturally, I canceled all my tickets and had no way back anymore. Everything was a bit uncertain. I didn't have a car with a license number plate to even go to Lviv and all of that. But I joined them and we went to Kharkiv together, and it was a very super interesting trip.
You also scared the crap out of me at one point.
Oh yeah, but that's later. That's later. That needed to happen.
Thanks, sir. I already have forgotten that it's fine. I won't think about it. It's cool. I mean,
no, but because the thing is, like, if I learned one thing, then it's how to talk really fast to authorities and say, like, okay, I'm a journalist and I'm doing this and that, and like make them actually not be a trouble to you. Although, like, actually, none of the Ukrainians during the whole trip has ever been anything but helpful, I think, except for the one guy who wanted to beat me up. Yeah.
Okay, how did that happen?
Okay. So, well, you went on your whole adventure after the border, going back to Latvia, and I went on my whole own adventure because on the border, when I was saying goodbye to you, a soldier approaches my car and goes like, "Hey, by the way, your tire is basically broken." And I was told, I looked at my tire and was like so close to breaking, and I'm at the border station. There's no service place there. I didn't have any cash on me. I know how much it would cost, and I had to get that, and then I get to a service place for the car. So I was driving away from that, going to a small border town, just being super fucking tired. I didn't sleep for like 12 hours consecutively. The day basically started in Zaporizhia, then we drive to Kiev, then we drive to the Polish border, which is like, I don't know what, like 1,000 kilometers away from Zaporizhia at that point. And I was just driving and I accidentally cut a guy off. So he honked behind me. It was just a big fucking Lada. And I was like fucking tired. I go like, okay, he honks. I'm too tired. I need to stop by the side of the road, look at my phone. Okay, where do I go? I have an almost broken car. I cannot drive over 70 kilometers an hour. I am tired as hell. And okay, I go there. I look up and the guy parked in front of me, big fucking guy, started walking towards me, really angry and wanted to beat me up, and thought because I held at the side of the road that I wanted to beat him up too because he honked at me. So I drive off.
Of course he did.
So I drive off. He tries to kick the car and starts tailing me. And I cannot drive more than 70 because my tire is going to break any second. And this guy who wants to beat me up is driving behind me. I cannot just speed off, which I could easily do if I had fixed tires. And he thinks I still want to beat him up because why the fuck is this Audi A5, the car that we had, so slow? Why would I drive so slow? Because he didn't know about the tire. So I was basically tailed by him. Then I somehow got rid of him. Then I needed to go to the next town. There I couldn't get money from the bank. Then I needed to go to the next town where a policeman stopped me, and I thought it was a police guy, and he's asked me like, where do you go? And I go to Kiev. He goes like, okay. I go like, okay. I don't know what the hell he said, but I'm just dobre. And he just opens the door, sits next to me, and just wants to drive with me because I thought I wanted to give him a ride. So I had this official next to me, still with the almost breaking tires, who I was just too fucking tired to get rid of. So I drive another 100 kilometers with this random Ukrainian guy next to me until he says like, oh, I go just to Kiev with you. And I was like, no, you cannot do that. I got rid of him. And then I was finally able to get money, get cash, get to the tire shop. And then they've actually fixed my car for free because you talked with them for like 5 seconds.
It was just... I explained to them who you are. That's all I did. I was like, that's my German friend. He's a journalist. Please help him. He's nice.
Yeah, and they were amazing. Like, yeah, really awesome people. Like all of the Ukrainians, super helpful. And then when I drove back off the town, the thing happened, which happened around a dozen times when we were there, is that we get to know a place. It's a tiny town, not a lot of people living there. We meet some people, we see some places, we go away from there. I checked the news 2 days later and the fucking place got bombed. So they bombed the little village with like 700 people living there where they fixed my tire, and then they bombed it and somebody died. And that was a thing that happened a lot. And that's a thing that's like still happening. So like the thing that's really heavy when you leave Ukraine is just like still having the apps, still having all the chat rooms, and seeing
that was there all the time. That was a thing that was just constantly with us every single time we left a place. It was bombed either the day before or it got bombed like the very next day.
Yep.
It was just insanity, and that was really depressing. You try to understand what's happening there, and it just so sad. And the biggest hitter for me, which happened just after I recorded my own episode about the whole thing, is that that Fozzy store that we drove past by when we were delivering those. I remember just pointing at the store and making fun of its silly name as we were driving back from the border when we delivered receipts for that event. Like, that was the fuzzy store. We drove past it like multiple times there and back again all the time. And you understand that, no, that place is forever gone at this point. And it
doesn't have any purpose. It's just cynicism why they bomb it.
I wanted to ask you, by the way, after all this, what's your take on everything? I mean, I've been there multiple times now. Now you've been there. If someone else wants to go and do some projects in a war zone, what would be the number one advice that you would give them?
Okay, so first of all, the difficult part of getting there is it's very possible to get there. The only thing that's difficult is that you will have to plan and continuously plan and try to get there for a certain amount of time, and you cannot have any doubts about it. If you have doubts, you just stop. That's what happened to basically half of the team that was supposed to go with us. Like the other half of the team didn't have the will to just continue to try and get there. But that's one thing.
And they will smell their fear.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually surprised. I was not afraid one single time the whole trip, but that heavily depends on what type of person you are. And we talked about this. It's also in the nature of being a journalist or a filmmaker where you're kind of inherently dissociative because you're not recording your own story and your own life. You're just there to watch and observe, and you just start to dissociate. And that can happen to you if you go there. But back to the question, I really would like more people to go there. I would like more people from Germany to go there and volunteer and help out. There's like stuff you can do. You can go to organizations. You don't have to go to frontline. You don't have to go to cities where you don't have the time to go to a bomb shelter before anything hits you. I was surprised there was not a lot of German volunteers, and that's something I talked about with the Renegade Relief Runners. And I think it's something that a lot of people should do, because you come back to Europe and you understand just so much more about your own country. Like here, people are very confused sometimes even about the trident hat that I wear basically 24/7 at the moment.
By the way, I sent off all those hats. I know that they've gotten to everyone in Europe, and I know that at least one American has gotten them. I really hope that today or tomorrow they should arrive in the States with other things. But that's
great. I still have to give some of mine to the people. But one thing I really learned to appreciate is the power of symbolism, the power of wearing a flag, of having the German flag. The only thing I regret really from this whole trip is that I didn't have a German flag with me 24/7, because I really wanted to show that I am from Germany. I support you. My country has been good at supporting Ukraine technically, but not really good at the whole publicity part of it and the rhetorical part of that. And yeah, I really would have liked to done that, because lots of people, like you see lots of Ukrainians wear the American flag, or like even I saw some British flags, they wear the caps and all of that. I didn't see one single German flag, and that's really sad, because we're like second biggest supporter of Ukraine, and it didn't really get through to them.
But they knew about you, because that was the one thing that yeah, like I always started all the conversations. A thing that popped into my own head, which I didn't say. I always started every conversation with, hello, he's German, I'm Latvian, and that's an American. And then they just proceed from there. This is the first thing I mentioned, because I spoke in Russian.
Yeah, that's also all the Russian I know. Like, hello, and on is Germani, or on is Amerikani, or something like that.
Yeah.
I heard that like a million times during the whole trip.
That was necessary.
I get why. Like, it made the whole cultural struggle of our times very, very easy to realize. Like you could see the bigger picture. Like, we are people from Germany, you're from Latvia, we are all in this together. The Ukrainians are fighting and dying for what is essentially our world, because they want to join us, and people who would destroy everything we have if they could are trying to kill them, and they're dying, and we're just sending them money, and they're sending their lives. And that was really heavy to see. Also, when we went there, so when we went to Kharkiv, let's get back to the whole trip that I was doing without you. So we went to Kharkiv, and there we worked together with Kraken, which is a special forces. I'm not sure of the size of it. It used to be a battalion. I think now it's a regiment, but I might be wrong.
I wanted to get their badge. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, I would have really loved to get one of their badges. But I worked with them. I have pictures with these guys holding their flag and standing in villages that have been devastated by the Russians, and giving those people food. And it was really eye-opening to see what they're doing, because they are doing the hearts and minds stuff. They're going to places that have been blasted with Russian propaganda. They have people coming to them and say, well, we were told when you come, you will take our food away and rape our daughters and all of that. And now you're giving us food. What is happening? I am confused. We had even people who have been kind of suspicious. We had all kinds of reactions from the actual village people. So we went to like deep villages. east of Izium. So at some point we have been like around 40 kilometers away from the active front line. Mm-hmm. And we got very different reactions. Some people were very shy. Some people also seemed exhausted. Some people were a little bit annoyed of like the whole procedure. But I also saw, well, the whole machinery of the humanitarian work. You go there, you set up a table, you go through the list, you ask which family gets how much. And for that, the Renegade Relief Runners, who are kind of doing logistical support and bringing in more supplies from the Kiev region, that they managed to organize, and then they meet up with Kraken, who are then talking to the locals. They know the administration from the villages, the people responsible for everything. They coordinate all of that. And it was a very bureaucratic but very effective procedure. And then they get their food. They take a picture with everyone who gets their food. And then they go off to the next village. And I wanted to tell you about this. I was approached by this amazing lady who in the first village was the only one who came to me with a big smile on her face and started talking to us and said, "Spasiba, thank you for coming," and all of that. And I had a guy from Renegade Relief Runners with me, and he translated, and we did an interview with her. And turns out actually her daughter is a refugee in Hamburg, and her granddaughter was seriously very, very ill. And she told me with tears in her eyes how a German doctor saved her, and she knew the name of the doctor, and she was so thankful, and she cried and said, "I am so happy, I am smiling because my daughter is safe." And it was really moving. That was really cool. And I now have the contacts of the daughter, and I'm writing with her, and I'm going to visit her in Hamburg to like make a whole circle of that story, because it was really beautiful.
Those are the things that stick with you, I think. Things that, you can sometimes make a difference with this. If you feel like you're actually doing something, if you're working there and being a journalist, like sometimes you don't actually really understand what are we achieving with this. Then when something like this happens, when you do understand, when you do get some results, it's one of those little things that it makes you forget all the unslept nights and all the other things that you've seen. The fact that you've actually helped maybe someone and there's meaning to what you do. I can really get that.
Hello there, and thanks for listening to another episode of The Eastern Border. Dear Patreons, thank you more than ever for supporting our show. Your donations are crucial to keep us going, and right now all of your money is going to securing good information for you and to fund Kristof's actual real-life mission to Ukraine to report to you live about the war that is going on there. Also, we would like to use this opportunity to urge you to donate to other organizations that are helping people escape Ukraine safely and to defend the country for those who decide to stay on the ground. One such organization we would like to highlight is the Defending Ukraine Together Come Back Alive movement. Launched in 2014, the Come Back Alive became the biggest organization providing support to the armed forces of Ukraine. You can donate directly from their webpage, comebackalive.in.ua. Remember that no donation is too small. In this situation, every dollar matters, every cent matters. If you're uncomfortable with giving money to war, they do have a position on their website that they are providing Ukrainian army with laptops, lights, photo equipment, cables, and is not purely military. Perhaps that might change your mind, but remember you can also donate to strictly humanitarian organizations such as the Red Cross and others that are helping people escape Ukraine safely. Please also keep following us on social media for all of your latest updates on Eastern Border on places like Twitter and Facebook. Keep listening, keep yourself informed. That's all from me now. See you online.
It's great.
Yes.
And I'm really happy that you experienced this because, again, when we were together in our time, everything that could go wrong did go wrong and it was pretty bad.
And resulted in something awesome anyways.
Yeah, I mean...
What I found also very interesting is the whole network of being a journalist. So getting the connections to people, asking people questions, somebody knows this, somebody knows that, how everything works together, how actual journalism works. That was really interesting to see also because you introduced me to this whole world and also your certain type of gonzo journalism, to which I hope I proudly consider myself your apprentice in all of that.
Well, thank you. I mean, you did talk your way out of many an issue, so I'm pretty sure it's fine. Also, I'm really glad that you actually managed, because when you called me about the tires, it happened exactly as I was sitting in Latvian, like Riga airport. I had just landed. I just hugged Evita. And at that point, you called me. Like, that's an instant.
It was fine.
It was fine. It was okay.
I was just worried the guy was scamming me because I stopped my car there and I was like, okay, I could only get enough money for the shell of a tire, and he started to take off the tire, replace it, go and say like, okay, where can I give you a replacement tire? Can I put it in the trunk and all of that? And I was like, oh my God, I do not have the money for all of that. And I told him and I tried to get this to him, and then he said like, no, don't worry, it's free. Thank you for helping us and all of that.
Look,
don't think about it.
For once, you should have listened to your own thing and like just not think about it. Come on.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to do sometimes. I understand, but then that's one thing that I've learned. Sometimes just not thinking about it is the best that you can do, just to keep sane.
Yeah, just shove it into the unconscious part of your brain. It will get processed eventually.
I mean, at one point, maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay, but so what happened? That you went with the Renegade Relief Gunners, and what happened?
We went to 3 different villages and gave them food and all of that. That was the humanitarian mission. And then we went to a hotel, and there was a cobblestone in front. And no, we went to a restaurant. There was cobblestone in front of that restaurant, and I noticed like at this point very familiar markings of cluster ammunition on asphalt or cobblestone.
I like how I know all this stuff because at one point it does become very familiar markings that you can just instantly recognize.
Yeah. And I was with people actually documented some of these guys from Renegade Relief Runners, and we're going to have a really weird documentary thing coming out about them. And one of them said, okay, so I'm going to tell you what happened here. And it's the restaurant. We had a laugh there. We chilled there. It was all just a nice evening. And then just like 10 meters next to the restaurant, he told me the story of how they got shelled, how they had to save the life of a guy who got hit with cluster ammunition. His leg was blown to pieces. His arm was gone. His torso was very damaged, and they had to apply tourniquets. He was 19, I think, at the time, had to cut off the guy's leg. And they then got a call on the phone of this injured guy, and it was the brother. And they had to explain to the brother what was happening at the moment. And the thing is, this guy I talked to, he asked me about his age. And I said 30. I thought he was 30, older than me. And he opened the app, showed me his like passport ID and goes like, no, I'm 20. And I was like, what happened? And then after he told me that story, so it's like, yeah, this is what happens to you. Also, everybody in Ukraine estimated me to be way younger because I haven't been in Ukraine long enough yet to get this kind of trauma aging and this thing that you get in your eyes if you see things like that. And you can really grasp at a moment like these when they're literally standing on the place where they're just living their normal lives. And they know the person died there next to them. It was really terrible.
Like, I don't know. That was one of the things that, I probably knew would happen. And I'm feeling quite happy with the fact that I managed to prepare you to at least some of that stuff, hopefully.
I didn't actually experience anything really traumatizing. Although there was this one moment, actually, where I have a metal, like a military locker. Mm-hmm. And it's in my studio, and I was just walking, and you know the sound that you make when your arm touches metal? Yeah. And I just walked next to it, and it's this dark sound, and I was like, fuck, that sounds exactly like the Russian artillery in Nikopol. And now I don't like that locker anymore.
Yeah, that's another thing. Knowing how Russian artillery sounds is, you learn how artillery sounds, you learn a lot of things, and let me tell you, when I'm going to get my own driver's license, when we're going to go next time, I think we can take Aldons with us this time or something. I think we can manage to guide people through some of this stuff. Really glad.
Yep. Okay. Then we have a guy who can actually screw in a light bulb because we couldn't.
Well, we didn't have a light bulb. We did have a light bulb screw in. Oh man.
Well,
I have forgotten that. Due to how everything happened, I have forgotten a couple of things from that, sadly. What was the light bulb incident? Oh no,
that was just a metaphor for how incompetent we are with technical stuff. Oh, but I'm glad that I could gaslight you into believing that was a light bulb.
Victor, I have learned to accept what you say and not question it. And then again, I would go to a war zone with Victor, but then again, I have so.
Yeah, we did. And I want to go back there. And I hope we can go back there some other place, because That is really interesting. But in between that and now, I have a mountain of like 2 terabytes of data that I have to edit and create some kinds of documentaries from, all kinds of documentaries from. And that's what's determining my days at the moment.
You're going to do that. No worries.
I'm working on it. I think the first thing might come out this week, actually. 2 days ago, I met with this amazing synthesizer artist and we created some amazing 80s style synthesizer electric sounds for the Odessa Cathedral documentary that I'm working on at the moment. So that would be really interesting.
That would be awesome. I would like, of course, please let me know instantly. We're gonna
you're featured
get you in the show. Oh well, thank you. Getting featured on Victor's documentary is it's an experience. Let me put it that way. I have now understood what happens when a movie guy wants to film something. And then your job as a producer is to make sure he can film that stuff in peace. And he will not listen to you. He will not listen. Like it's better to just help him film things because then he films faster and then you can leave.
Well, the only instance where that was really tangible was when we were literally in the lake and you guys said like, no Russian artillery is coming close. And I go like, guys, I see something. I have to check it out. And you're left behind. And I'm going further and further away from the shoreline, closer to the artillery. And I go like, I fucking found the Cossack village. So amazing.
For me, the biggest thing was like when you were filming those ants, because then I had to deal with the locals who just wanted to film all of our car and everything.
It's very funny. I knew that would be a meme even before I entered Ukraine. I knew that there would be this bizarre moment where I'm just filming ants and there's a Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station next to us.
Okay, how did you get back? Because that's just part of the story that I would like to know because you made me extremely nervous.
Oof. So I got back with 3 kinds of trains with the car. And well, the funny thing is I got back with 3 kinds of trains. One of them terrible and disastrous. One of them really good service, decent train. And one of them just everything working flawless. The flawless train was in Ukraine from Kharkiv, close to the front line, to Kiev. Then I took a car. Then I took a terrible bus ride. Then I took a decent train in Poland. And then I took a terrible train in Germany because what the hell? And actually the German train was the newest one. So that was the whole debacle. It took me 58 hours to get from Kharkiv home. 58 sleepless hours. That was a thing.
I mean, at this point, complaining about just 58 sleepless hours, dude.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. Also, during this whole thing, we drove the same distance it would have taken us to drive from Kiev to Peking on the other side of the world because we drove up and down Ukraine so many times.
So we drove one Asia?
We literally drove one Asia.
Oh yeah, by the way, to those of you who don't know, we have various measurements now. We have one Europe. We have one Helm. Helm thing was interesting. I don't exactly know if I mentioned this, but about Helm, situation was that we had a hotel where we wanted to stay. And of course, that hotel, which was apparently supposed to work 24/7, didn't. After that, you're like, Victor says, no, fine, I'll drive. And at that point, I didn't trust Victor's driving. After that, I really quickly started to do that because after that...
That was not a good ride to start trusting me. I think actually the most dangerous situations we have been in were me driving tired as hell because that was legitimate. Yeah. If we would have died in Ukraine, we would have died in a car crash. We would have died in a car crash.
That was the thing. I really, this is why I seriously want to reconsider my policy about, that I don't know how to drive. I need to know how to drive simply because if we are to do things together, I need to do this because it will be impossible to function. Like I can't. I have seen Victor completely devastatedly destroyed, not just when he has to break the law one more time than usual, but because I have seen him just driving insane amounts of distances. Like I think, if all else fails, you could totally work as a trucker. 100% no problems.
We managed to impress some Australian truckers, so that's the thing.
So I still have your box of things we didn't.
I have your sunglasses and your weird cream for wounds. I forgot how it's called. It's minty.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah,
nice. Just
use it
again. All the things that happened that were just sometimes weird and sometimes dangerous, but I'm just happy that you got all your experiences. It's really a shame that we got our licenses for actually doing the things we were supposed to do there only after everything was like over very late.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything about it.
next time we can do some actual pre-production and go to amazing places. I've met some very interesting people.
Next time, I'm gonna make sure everything is like, you can't believe so many things in Ukraine. You can't believe roads. You don't believe people who say, oh no, it's impossible to get there. Trust me on that one. It usually is. You just have to ask really nice.
And about that part with the roads, I think one thing that I really would like to tell people, like that's what I want to show people also with the documentaries from there. Ukraine is a ridiculously high functioning country at the moment.
Yeah.
This is not a country at war. This is country at war, but for the most part, it's working so well. People are working so well together. There's a collective feeling of everything, but you also have free time. You have people chilling on the banks of the Dnipro. You have people going on dates. You have a state that is providing things, that is just doing things that you wouldn't expect them to do in a war, like making the city more beautiful, building more infrastructure. The infrastructure in Ukraine is very top notch. It's of course also for military reasons useful to have that, but it's a very, very good country, and I've been seriously really surprised by how good everything works there.
What I really liked is that they do have their bureaucracy. But if you ask them nicely, and you have to ask them nicely, but you also have to assert some authority. Like if you need something done quickly, you have to tell them. You have to tell them that I need this done, and I'm doing this because they will be suspicious of you sometimes. But it's not because they're bad people. It's because they are so focused on everything they're doing.
They're one with their whole bureaucracy. They are one with it, and they don't know how to step out of it. You can tell them a few times convincingly, no, you don't actually have to do all of this. Let's just do the thing, and it's fine. And at a certain point they start realizing like, oh yeah, that's actually totally not necessary. The best moment of all of that, and I did actually catch that moment on camera, was when we had the receipts with the printed ridiculous stamp on them. They came pre-printed, and you gave them to a soldier, and he was like, oh nice, it even has a stamp on it. And he calls his boss and goes like, yeah, it even has the stamp, they are legit people. And I actually did secretly film all of that, so that's going to end up in some kind of documentary.
Because the fact that we laughed all the way delivering those receipts about the fact that how could these things, PDF files, can come with like pre-stamped.
Yeah, and then also we were in the very interesting situation of going to a semi-secret military base and having to tell soldiers like, hi, we have this receipt. Can you tell us the way to the secret military base, please? Where
your boss told us to deliver these things. And they're like, I haven't heard of this at all. Because it's but then you have to remember that we also had the babushka with kvass.
Oh yeah, the kvass is amazing.
And most tastiest peaches I've ever tasted in my life. Those also, amazing.
That is a very interesting thing, which will sadly go away at some point. But the whole food system in Ukraine is amazing. Produce they have is of crazy quality. They mostly have just regional stuff, but because it's Ukraine, it's all so good. The food in Ukraine is the second best food I know from any country. After Turkey, Ukraine is the country with the best food in the world, from my experience so far.
I still have to, dear listeners, go to Turkey with Victor.
Yeah, there will be an Eastern border in Istanbul season.
oh man. Oh,
yeah, I already told my friends you're coming, so it's all fine.
It is okay. It's okay. Tell us about the movie stuff. You're doing what now? What can we expect?
So I want to do one large documentary about Ukraine and the whole state of being at war, the state of people living under war. That one I don't have enough material yet, but we have many different smaller documentaries that are part of the process of getting to that larger documentary, and I will put them out one by one. The first thing I will put out is the Odessa Cathedral thing. So we filmed for 2 days in the destroyed Odessa Cathedral, already talked about it a little bit. And then after that, it will be just adventure episodes of all the shenanigans we've been up to, because actually I could already have some videos out, but I actually need a serious video to start with, because there's some videos that just make us look extremely dumb, although they're super easy to edit. I cannot put them out first.
It is... To those of you who are not my listeners, this is also going on Victor's stuff, don't trust naked guys who try to kill you.
Yeah, if they say don't drive away as fast as you can. Because otherwise you will spend the whole night in a weird military barracks getting questioned by people with masks and Kalashnikovs in the room.
At that point, we could have just driven away. I believe Peremoga 1 could have done it.
Yeah.
Talking about that, I really want to ask you, did you contact Reinis, and how did the returning the car happen?
Well, I called the guys. They say, come over. I said, I come over in 1 hour. I realized I can't drive for 1 hour, so I fell asleep on the side of the road for 3 hours. Then I came there a little bit late. And they were super friendly, gave me a handshake. I helped them clean up the car. They wanted to even drive me to the station to get to Warsaw in time, which I didn't. I had to book another ridiculously expensive train ticket because I missed the first one, but hey. But yeah, they love the Latvian support. There's some great cars there. There was a really dope Mercedes-Benz. There was a Jeep, all of them from Latvia. So actually, my favorite policy in Europe right now is the Latvian drunk driving policy. That's amazing and made the whole thing even possible for us.
Oh yeah, I explained that one, but just so your guys know, Latvia has this policy: if you're drunk driving, like very seriously drunk driving, then they just confiscate your car and send it to Ukraine. And that is how we got our car to even drive to Ukraine. That was the second car we were supposed to drive, but that's a long story. I'm not going to talk about Aldo's car and all that mess, which ended up.
No, let's talk about it. Make a full thing about when we actually drove it to someplace, so we don't look stupid. Because if we show half of that story, like show what happened until now, it kind of looks stupid. To be honest, right? How do I put this nicely? Fucking hard not to look stupid with this whole thing, but it was worth it. It was all worth it. That's why I spent my life behind the camera, not in front.
Oh yeah, nice.
I'm
gonna be the guy that looks the most dumb from all of you, but that's okay.
I actually got some pretty epic looking shots from you in the cathedral, so you're gonna look pretty good in that one.
Well, what I like the most, like I always said on this whole trip, Victor is the talented one. Anthony is the competent one, and I'm just the lucky person.
Yeah, and then I say talented is just that I managed to do decent things without having the brain power of like actually planning for it. I just do things and then they turn out ways.
We have a good plan. I do the short-term planning, you do the long-term planning.
Yes.
Then we can get something done.
Definitely. And also what's very useful is to have the number of people who are within slapping distance of you, because sometimes that's necessary for planning anything with you, because I can't slap you from Germany. And when I need that to have you do something for me, I can just call your girlfriend or I can just call Aldonis now and they will come and punch you for me.
Oh, yeah, that is true. That is very true.
Yeah, I actually said that when I see you, I will immediately explain you the German word Backpfeife in practical terms, because the planning was just as adventurous as the whole Ukraine trip itself.
Oh man, that's going to be one hell of a documentary. Oh wow, and a great episode as well. I think I'm going to send this to Aditya, but just to wrap this up before. I want to mention some news things though. I want to mention two news things. Because I kind of have to, I promised, because my previous episode, which I just published today, was one about tanks and tank firing systems with Sean from Advent of Computing.
I didn't see that one yet, and I wonder also if...
I literally published it just before we started talking.
I know, but the thing is, your episodes never get shown in my main feed on Spotify. I wonder if other people have that, because you seem kind of shadow banned on Spotify for me, because I never get notifications from your podcast, and I get from all of the other ones. So,
well, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it is 18 plus, and my show is not kids friendly. Two things that happened here, which I want to quickly talk about because they're important, and I want to hear your comments on this. And you can cut this part out for your show. It's just that I really want to put this on Eastern Border. After all,
go ahead.
This. So, first thing is that Igor Girkin had his second court today. Igor Girkin, our frenemy of the show, the guy that does all the commentary and those Super Z guys, and he's into prison right now. They did an appellation trial with him, and his wife came out and said that she had hoped that the Russian courts would let him go, and then he would have a proper big court with prison sentencing later, but they kept him in this isolator thing. And it was very stupid because apparently the Z guys they are more and more seeing how Putin is failing everything, because he even had a medal of a paper that acknowledges him, like a big thank you from Putin himself. Imagine that. And that didn't save him, because Putin really wanted him to be in this whole situation. I don't know. My two questions are, number one, why would Girkin's wife be so naive that to actually hope that Putin would somehow let her husband go somewhere out of just jail and do something? And secondly, what does it even mean? What does it say if you have a Putin's acknowledgement about your good work good work here being exploding a passenger plane and over Donbass, and that doesn't even help you these days.
I think that's... Oh, sorry, that one caught me off guard. Thanks for exploding the Dutch people over Ukraine. Yeah, so, I mean, it's part of the whole system of just Putin trying to show like, oh no, I'm obedient to the system, and it's this whole thing, and the generals are fucked up, and it's not my fault and all of that, and never anyone criticizing him, and he would help him if he could, but he has to because this is a lawful country, and this guy broke the law and so on. It's kind of part of that whole theater. But what I also would like to comment on is whenever there's anything happen with Igor Girkin, I know he's one of the smarter guys from this whole war, but it's very hard to have any photographed event with Igor Girkin and not have it look very cringe boomery, because he looks like a cringe boomer all the time.
Oh, he does now. He has a long white beard, by the way. He's grown out his beard. It's just crazy.
He looks like he's going bird watching.
Second thing, by the way, is that today was Prigozhin's funeral, which I really wanted to mention on this. We spoke about this before. And people just noticed that, first of all, there were fake graves for commanders and everything, and fake ceremonies all over the place, all over St. Petersburg, because they kind of didn't want to show where Prigozhin would be buried, just because they, that would be suspicious, and they didn't want any disorderly things happening. However, at the same time, they, at the end, buried him in one of the graveyards. And this comes from Alexander Nevzorov, who also grew up in St. Petersburg. And Putin grew up in St. Petersburg. And apparently there's a river, which is two names. And one of these names is Lupa, as that apparently is how the locals call the whole river. And Prigozhin was buried in the graveyard that's on the other side of the river, which would translate to Zalupoi. And no one in St. Petersburg, apparently in slang or street or anywhere else, calls it anyway. But, you get your apartment in Zalupa, and Zalupa is also the name for foreskin, which is interesting. So Putin would know this because Putin grew up in the 90s there, and that's just another fuck you to Prigozhin and everything. It's just amazing how he does these things. It's just it's innocent, but it's at the same time it's another jab at all this stuff. It's amazing.
I can absolutely see Putin laughing about this and just trying to dishonor him one last time. And does it make him a petuch if he gets buried under the foreskin?
I don't think you can become a petuch after death. I mean, it is until death kind of thing. Just like Putin staying in power, which is stupid, but it is what it is. The dumbest part about all this situation is that, I don't think that he's gonna live through. Other thing that ties together with the trip. How do you look at all these people right now in many Western countries who are like, oh, we have to find a deal with Russia and all this stuff? Has your views changed or improved, or what have you noticed about all these people who want to make these deals about everything?
Well, I mean, I just drove to Wuppertal back from Dortmund. And if you drive into Dortmund, there's this giant graffiti on one of the most prominent buildings that says, "Peace now." And I wonder what that means, because they didn't post this with a Ukraine flag or anything. So there's actually lots of people here who are very critical. I came back, and the first person I talked to came to me and said like, oh yeah, did you go camping? I was like, no, I actually came back from Ukraine. He goes like, Ukraine? Why not Russia? What? You know, you shouldn't believe all those things. You don't believe the media and everything who's saying actually Ukraine deserves to be occupied by Russia because of blah, blah, blah. I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to believe the media? Dude, I told him, I am the media. Oh, yeah, what do you want?
I wanted to say that you should have told them, yeah, dude, you are the media.
I did tell him that.
Yeah, because what else?
It's ridiculous. It's this kind of cynicism. I think it correlates with, there's this certain thing also with the Nazi Party in Germany and all of that. It's not Nazi Party, but the Alternative für Deutschland, the whole anti-system party and all of that. It's the people who are just very nihilistic about democracy, about the whole system, who cannot believe that elections can be true, who don't believe the same thing that Putin can't believe, that you can be free, that this is a country where actually lots of people are working very hard to make lives for others better. There's corrupt people, there's idiots, and those are our internal issues that we have to fight against. But some people are just nihilistic about it, don't believe in all of that, and just want everything to go down in flames. Those are the kinds of people who then start to glorify Russia and to just because they're frustrated about the system. I think it's basically that.
Yeah, but the whole system thing and everything, it's not like Ukrainians chose to invade anyone themselves. They didn't do this. And I firmly believe that the nice place where we stayed in Odessa, they would be much happier if we would just arrive there just as tourists, If
Definitely.
they would rather hold on to their massive party, which they were having, than do anything of the sort that, they don't want the war thing. They don't want anything horrible. What they want to do is that they want to have, a nice beach party. That's what this whole thing is about. Like, Odessa itself is a place where if you can go to, it's even hard to explain this to people, but look, Odessa is the spot where you go, they'll cheat the cops just to give you a better deal and so that you can eat dinner there in a place.
Yeah.
It literally happened to us, okay? So any argument that, oh no, like Ukraine is somehow guilty in any of this is just nonsense.
Ukraine is an amazing country and people really should go there and have a fun time and learn how cooperative everybody is, how thriving actually is amazing in Ukraine. Like Ukraine has some of the drivers, like Kiev is a very chaotic city, but everybody kind of works together. Everything really cool in Ukraine. We can learn a lot of things from there. And actually, I tell you one thing. So, I also work with NGOs and all of that European mobility stuff and everything. After this war is over, we're going to send a lot of people to Ukraine for projects. So let's actually do something about that.
We're going to have to. First, you reminded me, I'm going to take a look and do the thing that you sent me first. The thing about the Erasmus stuff.
Please.
I have to do it now, and I will do that.
Do it today.
I will do it just as we finish this. And I think now it's time to wrap this up. So, at least in my part. So, any last wrap-up words, Victor? You can just mention love. Love is nice. And then Fat Kid with a gun deserves some love.
I would like to say one thing. Love is a place, and love is a thing. That's what we believe in. That's why we do all of this. And
feed him gravel.
Yeah,
it's a stupid joke. It's a stupid joke, but Victor will explain it to you someday. Love is a place. Love is a thing.
And it's in Ukraine.
It also makes me happy, everything, because happiness is mandatory.
Guys, so those of you who are on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram, at Victor Nordland. He will put it in the description. Go follow me on YouTube. There will be a link to the channel where I will be very soon, probably by Friday, releasing the first documentary work from Ukraine. And go follow me on Twitter if you want to. I'm trying to build a Twitter account while the whole thing is going down in flames. I'm starting with Twitter. Great thing to do. Yeah.
That sounds like a great thing to do, starting on Twitter right now. Probably not.
Best time.
It's the best time. Okay. Once again, this is Deja Tavarishi. I will post links on everything. If I forget about that, message me and those will appear, and then Victor will yell at me. Victor is the hero of the Eastern Border. I know that much. So yeah, that's about it. До свидания.
Thank you for listening to the Eastern Border Show. If you have any questions or comments, go to our website, theeasternborder.lv, and leave a comment there. Or email us at theeasternborder@gmail.com. We'll be sure to answer. You can also follow us on social media and contact us there. If you enjoyed this episode, then leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends about us. It really helps us grow the show. And remember, happiness is mandatory.